Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, one and all, and a happy Thanksgiving to all of you on this chilly Thanksgiving Thursday morning. It is 7:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. I'm Andrew Langer in for Larry O'Connor today, sitting alongside Hans von Spakovsky. Good morning, Hans. Happy Thanksgiving, good sir.
Well, same to you. And, you know, it's supposed to be cold on Thanksgiving. People are supposed to be shivering when they're at parades and watching all the football games and everything else.
You know, it's the season. You never know what you're going to get. I remember one year it was a blizzard in New York City, and then the following year it was 70 degrees. It comes and it goes. So we got a great show coming up here on O'Connor and Company. We got Jane Hampton Cook joining us in just a little while. She's a presidential historian. We got Chuck DeVore from the Texas Public Policy Foundation and a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army. Louis Gohmert, one of my favorite members of Congress, former member of Congress from Texas. He is also a retired captain in the JAG Corps in the Army. But joining us right now, longtime friend of the show. You know him, you love him. He's an author. He's got a new book coming out, Panama Red. His name is Kurt Schlichter. Kurt, are you on the West Coast? Are you really joining us at 4 a.m.?
No, I'm at my Texas house.
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm joining you at 6 a.m. on
Wait a minute. Did you finally leave Southern California and go to Texas, or are you did you just have bi-coastal if Texas was one of the coasts?
Well, I like to think of myself as bi-curious.
Yes. Well, we've heard this. Anyway, man, happy Thanksgiving to you. So glad you can join us today.
Well, it's not a very happy Thanksgiving because those two guards. Look, I was 27 years in. I was a member of California Army National Guard. I served with your future guest, Chuck DeVore. He's a good friend, and we both were out in the L.A. riots and through the 90s, early 2000s. We were both at the 40th Infantry Division. Guys, those soldiers, well, at least one was an airman, one was Air Force. They could have been my guys.
Right.
And this is very personal to those of us who have been honored to lead soldiers as officers or non-commissioned officers. And I got to say, I'm going to do my best to keep this FCC compliant.
Please. But
I want the listeners to assume the unbroken string of profanity.
Right.
That comes not only with this degenerate pagan pervert who attempted to murder these guys, but also the disgusting and despicable leftists who seem to be exploiting it in the most disgusting way. I'm appalled on every level.
You know, the denigration of our National Guardsmen who are doing this tough duty, that is just sickening to me. I know it's sickening to you, Hans. Please feel free to jump in.
Well, yeah, you know, why should we expect anything different when these leftist talking heads, Democrats in Congress and others, have for how long now been referring to federal agents, ICE agents, National Guardsmen as the Gestapo, as fascist thugs. I mean, this is constantly coming from them, and should we be surprised with the kind of attacks, not just these two National Guardsmen being shot, but ICE agents, for example, all over the country being attacked, shot at. This is constantly happening, and they are helping to instigate it.
Well, look, this is of a kind. They murdered Charlie Kirk in front of us. Oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
Let me be specific. Their disgusting, deviant, perverted freak friend murdered Charlie Kirk.
Right.
Thomas Crooks turns out to be another disgusting, deviant pervert. And, of course, the guy in Florida was another deviant. At some point you've got to, it has to occur to you that, gosh, they want us either disenfranchised or dead, and they're perfectly happy with either one. And I got to tell you, among the vets, the anger out there has been growing, and it wasn't helped with the seditious six, these disgusting disgraces, doing their thing. the anger out there is growing. And I've written a book about these things.
Right.
Not Panama Red, the one before, American Apocalypse. This kind of thing spins out of control. You can't treat society as a Jenga tower and keep pulling out little blocks because they're inconvenient to your short-term political advantage, and expect the tower not to start swaying and eventually collapse.
Right. No, absolutely. By the way, we're talking with Kurt Schlichter. He's a senior columnist for Town Hall, also a retired Army colonel, author of the upcoming book, Panama Red. And that's just it. You know, we just went through an election cycle, Kurt, where it was really pushed by the Democrats' quest for naked power. That's why they kept the shutdown going for as long as they did, because they want to gin up a couple of different congressional seats. So it's unsurprising that they would, give us the circumstances which lead to these shootings, and then turn around and blame the victims, essentially, which is what they're doing. It's a form of victim blaming, isn't it?
Well, look, they care nothing about these soldiers or airmen.
Right.
They don't know any. They don't like them. They're perfectly willing to see them die if it becomes politically convenient. And I know that's a harsh thing to say. It's also a true thing to say, which is why I'm saying it.
Right.
And you know, my favorite part is well, it's obviously Trump's fault. He put them out there, and also
right.
You know, they gave this guy asylum in April of 2024, to which I say, yes, you're right. No more asylum. Send them all home. And I love that about Trump. Within a couple hours, now we're not taking any more of these scumbags. And he did the same thing with Somalians, which I think is terrific. I am sick of importing third world savages, bringing the pathologies of their own garbage countries into my country. You know, the premise of this multiculturalism is all these countries bring something, and we're not a melting pot. We're a delightful bowl of salad where all these people add something from their culture. I don't want anything from Afghanistan's culture. I don't want anything from Somalia's culture. I want my culture. I'm an American. I want that.
Yes.
And that's all. And I got to tell you, and of course, my Latinx immigrant wife agrees. I'm going to spend Thanksgiving with a bunch of Cubans who make me look like AOC.
Yes, I've heard that. Hey, Kurt, can you hang out for a couple minutes, because we love spending the time with you. Thanks. So listen, we got so much more to get to. It is 7:15 a.m. time for traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the fives. So, Kurt, I mean, Hans and I have been talking about this, and you're right. These are your guys. Humanize it for us. You know, the denigration of the National Guardsmen who are serving and doing very tough duty away from their families. Oh, these guys don't have any experience with law enforcement. These guys don't know what to do if they're presented with a threat.
Dear God.
Yeah, tell the truth here. Drop. Listen, I know you're a shrinking violet, Kurt Schlichter, but lay some truth on us here.
Well, the National Guard is a component of the reserves. Most of us had experience on active duty. When I got into the California Army National Guard, I had just come back from the Gulf War, had a right shoulder patch. I was also a lean 160 pounds, and my uniform was very, very nicely pressed.
I'm sure you can still fit into that, right? Right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd slip right in. I'd have to be doing Ozempic like Tony Montana did cocaine.
Yes.
But reservists are citizen soldiers. I came in, I was a law student, and then I became a lawyer. All the time I was a combat arms officer. I was never a JAG. I was never a disgusting creep like David French, who actually was a JAG, and of course just came out on the side of the leftists today.
Of course.
You know, and I just want to take a quick tangent. Thanks, David. I didn't think I could have more contempt for you, but congratulations, you piece of crap. You've done it. You know, and I again, FCC compliance.
Right, please,
anyway,
thank you.
These guys are regular citizens who have to meet all the standards of the regular Army. I mean, I was still, I was a commander while I was a lawyer. I was going to Command General Staff School, Combined Arms Staff School, Army War College. You can deploy. I deployed for 16 months to Kosovo after 9/11, but I also went to the LA riots with Chuck DeVore. No, we are not trained as traditional law enforcement officers. We are not cops, but we are able to do things. Presence patrols, point security. We're all qualified with our weapons. In fact, a lot of guardsmen shoot on their own and are actually more proficient than active duty folks.
Yeah, Kurt, it's interesting. In the midst of all this hostility, the progressive left and others are showing the enlistment numbers in the military are at record levels. I would think you attribute that to the Secretary of Defense, President, et cetera. Yeah.
To Pete Hegseth overturning the petri dish of social pathologies that was the Pentagon and turning it back to a war-fighting organization.
Right.
Look, young Americans want to serve their country. Young Americans want to fight. And the Biden administration made a concerted effort to make the military unfriendly to the kind of people who win wars. Now, of course, the generals haven't unequivocally won a major war in over 30 years. I was there when we did the last one, Desert Storm, and I got to tell you, it's better than losing. And of course, the disastrous loss of Afghanistan under the failed generals and Joe Biden is a direct cause of this debacle yesterday. The military shouldn't be used to try and turn primitive cultures from the 7th century into something like human beings. I think, in the future, and I think Donald Trump sees it, the proper way to treat them is the way Romans treated the barbarians, with a brutal punitive raid that makes them curse our names for 100 generations, rather than trying to go in and teach them not to make love to goats.
What I love about having Kurt Schlichter on, Hans, is that he's always so diplomatic and he chooses his words. He certainly chooses his words very carefully. Kurt, listen, two things. It's a two-part question for you before we let you go. Number one, tell us about the book. And number two, what are you most looking forward to having on your Thanksgiving plate later on today?
First of all, let me cover Thanksgiving. It is the worst food holiday of the year.
No.
Oh, no.
Turkey is a blank canvas.
No.
Look, my wife has been slaving in the kitchen. It's going to be objectively good. But I'm a beef centered.
Well, it's what's for dinner
guy. Well, we're certainly going to have a wonderful turkey, and I've watched it being.
Something. Actually, I'm kind of surprised they don't do a smoked brisket in your household for Thanksgiving.
I do not. My wife is completely in charge. I have been sidelined, and I've been watching it.
We were supposed to have somebody on today, Kurt, who was going to talk to us about, literally, this is not a joke, I'm not doing shtick here. She wrote a piece for Heritage, Hans, the Maha person at Heritage, about deep frying a turkey in beef tallow. So you get the best of both worlds.
Oh,
with that.
yeah.
Now I'm intrigued. Yes. But speaking of intrigued, Panama Red, the new Kelly Turnbull book, number 9. I started writing these spy books, conservative spy books, because of Andrew Breitbart. He said we got to do our own culture, and I would read like a Brad Thor book and throw it across the room because they're all the same.
Right.
He's also never Trumper. And they're funny, they're fast, they're violent. If you like my town hall columns, and you should, unless you're an impotent bulwark drone eunuch. You will love the Kelly Turnbull books. Panama Red, you can pre-order it at Amazon. Panama Red, it is funny, it is fast. There are lots of Easter eggs for people in the conservative world. I think our friend Larry O'Connor has a hilarious cameo in it.
Nice.
I'm very proud of it. And a lot of other things. It's it basically imagines America broken into red and blue parts. And how do they interact? What do they look like? And it's fun. They are fun books.
I look forward to it. It sounds like a Van Halen album in book form.
Their
Kurt
best
Schlichter.
song.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Kurt Schlichter, happy Thanksgiving, my friend.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, and please, pray for these soldiers.
Absolutely,
airmen. I'm beside myself about this.
As we should be.
There's families whose Thanksgiving has been devastated by this. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Kurt. Thank you so very much. Listen,
happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Thanks. We got so much more to get to right now at 7:24 on WMAL.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
We're going to focus on tradition in a little bit, joined by Jane Hampton Cook. She's a presidential historian, author of a children's book series, Revolutionary Readers, for America's 250th anniversary. It is 7:30 on WMAL. Well, good morning, one and all. A happy, happy Thanksgiving, the happiest of Thanksgivings to you and yours from all of us here at O'Connor and Company, News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. It is 7:37 in the morning. I'm waiting. I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor. We're all eagerly waiting for Larry to return. Joining me is Hans von Spakovsky. Good morning, Hans. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Andrew. And I'm in for all the lovely ladies that Larry O'Connor co-hosts the show with.
Yes, I appreciate that. So listen, we got a great show. Obviously, it is Thanksgiving. We're addressing this horrendous shooting in Washington, D.C. Going to be joined in the next hour by Chuck DeVore, friend of Kurt Schlichter's. I've been asked by Kurt to make sure we say hello to Chuck on his behalf. We also got Louis Gohmert, who is a former congressman from the great state of Texas, one of my favorite members of Congress, a former Army captain. The two of them are going to be joining us in the 8 a.m. hour. But right now, because it is Thanksgiving, and we've got plenty to be thankful for, Jane Hampton Cook. We are thankful for Jane Hampton Cook. She's a presidential historian. She's got a children's book series out, Revolutionary Readers, for America's 250th anniversary. Jane, so, let's talk about this. I mean, Hans and I were talking about the Thanksgivings, plural, of 1939. We may get to that in a moment if you know about it. But talk to us about George Washington's Thanksgiving.
Well, 250 years ago, George Washington wrote the word Thanksgiving for the very first time. And when he was the commander of the Army in Massachusetts, he decided that they were going to go along with this local tradition of Thanksgiving. So he set aside time for his army to give thanks to God, to preserve our rights, and to restore peace. And so I think that's really cool. So 250 years ago, George Washington had his first Thanksgiving, as did the U.S. Army.
Amazing. And it's such an important tradition right now, one that we need to be seeking solace in these times of uncertainty. Hans, your thoughts here?
Well, I was wondering probably, you have a whole series. Did George Washington bring any of his whiskey with him for this? Because I think a lot of people don't realize he was one of the largest producers of whiskey in the country at the time, wasn't he?
Yes. I don't know if he did that, but they did eat pigs. They likely had pork for Thanksgiving,
nice.
And they got their flour from Philadelphia. So that's kind of the beginning of the supply lines. And every now and then, George Washington would allow his men to have a little bit of alcohol. He'd give them a little bit. So who knows?
Yes, I get that. So tell us about the book. Well, actually, let me go here. Are you familiar with this story of the 1939, the two Thanksgivings? Have you tracked this? So
I haven't tracked
Hans,
that. Tell me.
Hans, please, jump in here.
Well, it was still the Depression going on, 39, and in order to extend the Christmas shopping season, FDR moved Thanksgiving to the fourth Thursday of November. It had always been celebrated on the last Thursday of November. Well, a lot of states were confused. They didn't realize it was changed, and so it's known as the year of the two Thanksgivings. There's even an old Jack Benny radio show where they make fun of the fact that they held two Thanksgivings in 1939.
It's also portrayed in the movie Holiday Inn, where they show the calendar for Thanksgiving, and the turkey is confused and doesn't know which Thursday to go on. That's pretty amazing, isn't it, Jane?
That is. And you know what was cool is that when they had Thanksgiving with George Washington, it was on a Thursday.
Yes.
So that tradition has been there a long time to set aside Thursday. And so, yes, FDR had his hand in establishing what we now know as the national holiday of Thanksgiving on the Thursday, as you said.
Jane, are you as excited as I am for the 250th? I mean, we're really moving into it. We're just a scant few weeks away from 2026. Tell us about the book series Revolutionary Readers and the 250th.
So I'm really excited for the 250th because I think this is a chance for us to reconnect with our founding and reconnect with the stories and really be inspired. I mean, on January 10, 2026, it'll be the 250th anniversary of Thomas Paine's Common Sense.
Wow.
We probably wouldn't have had a Declaration of Independence if it hadn't been for common sense, because people read that, and it's what motivated them to want to separate from England. So, yeah, I'm very excited. And this children's book series, there were no patriotic kids books in this particular category. So I wrote one about My American Flag for 4 to 6-year-olds, America the Beautiful, which has its second verse all about the Pilgrims.
Amen.
That's for second graders. And then we have the Pledge to the Flag. And then we have Why the 4th of July. To help you understand why July 4th is our birthday and not many other dates in our history.
Now, listen, I know for me, my love of America stems from being 5 years old during the bicentennial. Yes, you can all go and do the math on that. But, just all of American history and the celebrations of our 200th, I'm hoping we can have that now. Jane, how do folks find out more about the good work you're doing?
They can go to janecook.com, and they can go to janehamptoncook.substack.com and sign up for free.
And you can find her on X at Jane Hampton, Hampton, Jane Hampton Cook, Cook. Jane, happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much.
So much more coming up at 7:43 on WMAL.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
So, Hans, we never get a chance to talk, just you and me. We don't get to talk anymore. But I figure we'll spend some time, catching up, because I think people need to know a little bit more about you, not just the work that you're doing. How'd you get involved in all of this? Well, you grew up down in Alabama?
I grew up in, despite my name, I grew up in North Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama, known as Rocket City.
Yes.
U.S.A. But then I went to college in Boston at MIT, where I met my wife, who, listen, my parents are immigrants. They came in 1951. My wife's family's been in Boston since a British sea captain who was her great ancestor arrived in the late 1630s.
Wow.
So we're really a mixed marriage between old and new.
That is amazing. There was the really great TV series, Rocket City Rednecks, which is about the father and son rocket engineers, and I was always loved shows like that. So, MIT, you went to MIT. What your undergraduate degree was in what?
Well, I started off in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
And spent a couple of years in that before I decided I really want to be a lawyer. So I switched over to poli-sci and then went over to the Vanderbilt for law school back in the South.
Were you always a conservative?
What made me a conservative was hearing my family's stories. My mother grew up in Nazi Germany. My father was a white Russian who escaped communism. And listen, we were so blessed. We were told that we were growing up in this great free country.
Right. I mean, as I was alluding to with Jane Hampton Cook, I grew up in New York. But 1976, very, very important year. We were just getting fed with so much pro-American information. I always was passionate about this. Always passionate about the principles behind why we fought the revolution. And so anyway. So that was so vitally important. I mean, I'm thanking my lucky stars that we don't have Kamala Harris as president going into the semi-sesquicentennial. I think that's how we do it. I mean, because who knows what kind of pablum would have been shoved down our throats in the coming year. Am I right here?
Listen, no. We know what would have been shoved.
Yes.
We would have been spending the entire year apologizing
for
our history, apologizing for being a nation. And, the theme of the leftist academics throughout the country would have been that we are, in fact, the greatest danger to humanity that exists in the world today.
So you're working on election integrity issues at Heritage. What else are you working on?
Well, I also work on a lot of immigration issues, and lately I've been working on the rogue judges that we have throughout the country. In fact, we started a series, me and my colleague Tom Jipping, in which every month now we're giving the Dishonorable Conduct Award to the worst decision of a federal judge.
And what's in the running right now? Are you doing like a round robin where you have them compete and people vote? Karen Harned's group was doing that for a while.
Well, we're picking them, but the problem we have right now is there's so many bad decisions.
Right.
I mean, there's so many of them. We have a hard time choosing which ones that are the worst.
Right, that's why the idea of the round robin where you pit them against each other and people vote works so well. You're working on the immigration issues because, as I mentioned early on in the show, there were comments due to ICE yesterday, or maybe it was Customs and Border. Either way, it was DHS about biometrics and the use of biometrics and keeping track of people. I think this is something you'd be in favor of.
Well, yeah, coming in because otherwise, Look,
coming in and making sure that people are leaving, too.
Yes,
that's
exactly. The biggest we have a huge problem on the southern border, but something like 40% of the illegal aliens in the country are visa overstays.
Right. We know somebody who he retired. He decided he was going to move to France, he and his wife. They didn't fill out the appropriate paperwork to actually live in France. And France kicked him out, They don't mess around there. Listen, we got so much more to get to. It's 7:53 here on O'Connor & Company, WMAL. So much more to come on O'Connor & Company. We're going to be joined by Chuck DeVore from the Texas Public Policy Foundation, former Congressman Louis Gohmert from the great state of Texas, and we're going to break down what's been going on with this horrific shooting in Washington, D.C. yesterday. Stay tuned to O'Connor & Company on WMAL. It is 8.